Okay, guys, got a homework question that I'm going to make a video for. And we'll see how that goes, and if you like that, then we'll keep doing that. This is from, as you can see from the title, right above sort of the laser pointer here, Unit 7, Lesson 5, and it's homework problem number 21 out of the book. So it's an identity, right? So we want to show that this stuff is equal to this stuff, okay? I'm going to work with the left side because that's, to me, more complicated. We've got a half x that we want to turn into an x, and we've got a sum of two terms that we want to turn into one term. All right? So if we start here, well, tan of a half x, that's really sine of a half x over cosine of a half x. Okay, and then cotan is just the opposite, so that's plus cosine half x over sine of half x. All right, so now we want to merge these two. We want to add these two things together because we have one term over here. So we need a common denominator. So I'm going to take this term and I'm going to multiply by this. So it's sine of a half x over sine of a half x. I'm going to take this term, multiply by this cosine x top and bottom, right? So if we do that, and maybe I'll do that in another color just so I don't confuse you guys or myself. So this one, we basically need to have a sine of a half x over sine of a half x. We need to multiply top and bottom by that, right? And then this term needs a cosine half x top and bottom. All right, back to blue. If we do that, then we're going to get sine squared half x plus cosine squared half x, right? Sine half x times sine half x is that. Cosine half x times cosine half x is that. That is over sine half x cosine half x. All right, so look at this top, right? We have the sine squared of something plus the cosine squared of the same thing. That's going to turn to 1, right? So this becomes, and I should really be writing equal signs, I guess. I'll start, this is equal, this is equal. This is all the left-hand side. So this is equal to 1 over sine half x cosine half x. Now, think about this. We have this identity already on the right side that sine 2x is equal to 2 cos x sine x. Or maybe more conventionally, 2 sine x cos x. Okay? Super important identity. Look at what we have here. Sine half x, cosine half x. So that's really this. But instead of an x, we have a half x. And instead of instead of an x for sine, we have a half x. Instead of an x for cosine, we have a half x, right? So if we were to just isolate for this, I'll write that over here. We have to clear the 2, right? So we could say, well, sine 2x over 2 is equal to sine x cosine x. Okay, and then therefore, I guess I'll just keep going here. The sine of something over 2 is equal to the sine half x cosine half x. Well, what I've done is I've gone from x, half x, half x. So if these are x's and this is a 2x, if these are half x's, this has to be an x, right? So now if I use this identity and I sub it, maybe I'll highlight. Yeah. If I take this and I sub for that, watch what happens. Well, we get 1 over sine x over 2. Well, I can multiply top and bottom by 2 to clear this 2. So we get 2 over sine x, which is equal to 2 cosecant x, and we are done. because now this is equal to that. Okay? Hope that's useful. I'll post this and put a link in the questions document.